and I've got 3.5 children because my stepdaughter Emma in the back is here, and unfortunately one of my sons, Charlie's got the stomach bug, so he couldn't be here. But I grew up in Timonium, corner of Hot Spring and Timonium Road. Went to Ridgely, went to Delaney. My 3 sons right now are, and it's not a clip off of the TV show. Go to Ridgely right now. I own a trucking company in Rosedale. My trucks run in and out of the Port of Baltimore, hauling ocean containers in and out of the port all day. So I understand what it takes to live within a budget and be fiscally responsible. And I am running in this district right now because I think that it's time for fresh ideas and a new vision for this district, and I hope to be the candidate that you guys like what I have to say. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Kach, the councilman from District 3, and I first want to thank the Republican women of Baltimore County for hosting this event. Also want to thank them for all the work that they do monitoring the county council and the state legislature and getting involved and advocating for certain pieces of legislation or against certain pieces of legislation. What you do is very worthwhile and very successful. This is my first term on the county council, and it's been very eventful, to say the least. The thing that I think surprised me the most about the county council is how the old guard Democrat machine runs the show in Baltimore County. So once I determined that, it didn't take me long, unfortunately. What I've done is, one of my main goals has been to make Baltimore County government open and transparent. First of all, I send out 35,000 emails which describe exactly what issues are going to be before the county council. I got the council to put on the council website the schedule of meetings and what issues would be discussed. And so I've been working very hard on that. Of course, the main responsibility of a council member is zoning, rezoning, and we went through that in 2016, and if reelected, I look forward to the same process in 2020. So again, thank you very much for inviting me this evening. And I was saying that I was a school teacher, as you know, and maybe I could have gotten the crowd in order a little earlier. I'm not sure, but I think I might. Thank you very much.
Councilman, I'll start out with you. Personal experiences, whether in the public sector or the private sector, same question to both you gentlemen. What do you think life experiences will help you moving forward in the direction of Baltimore County?
First of all, I have an agenda for our district in Baltimore County. The main thing that I want to do is to preserve and improve our way of life in the district. I mean, that's very important. Also, economic development. What we need to do is we need to be advocates for infrastructure, especially between Hunt Valley and Sparks. We have land that is zoned industrial in Sparks, and that's what it should be used for. If we can get the infrastructure in, we will get the businesses to locate in Sparks to increase our tax base, which will, of course, help in regard to property taxes. One of the things, as far as experience, I was an auditor in the Baltimore County school system, and actually, the county council doesn't always appreciate the fact that I read the audit reports and let them know what's happening. I call it the inconvenient truth. and they're not happy about it. But I'm insistent upon spending our funds wisely and making sure that the programs that we have in Baltimore County and in the schools work. Thank you.
So the couple of things about me is I may have grown up in Timonium, but my parents are both from the east side of Baltimore County in Dundalk. Very proud of that, and it's a very good work ethic mentality that was instilled in me by my parents. I got my business acumen from my father. You know, one of my biggest things that running my business on a daily basis has given me a lot of insight on when things are good. You got to keep looking forward down the road, because obviously there's a day's going to come when it's not so good. And it happened with me back in 2008. My business, I merged in another division into my trucking company, and then the market crashed. And here I am with a whole bunch of people that were doing air freight, and that's the first thing that dries up when the economy goes bad. So I kept those employees for an extra 6 months, trying to find additional work for them, and eventually, ultimately, it cost me. I had to file for a bankruptcy. So, but it didn't stop me. We reshuffled the deck. And today, my company is bigger, better, and stronger than it has been before. And because I have to think outside the box, because the old way of looking at things isn't necessarily the right way of looking at things in the future. So I'm always looking down the road to see how we can improve on what we're doing in not only in my business, but in life. And that's what I would do for us here in the 3rd District. Thank you.
And Councilman, you bring up development. The 3rd District is sort of a district of 2 different cities in a lot of ways when it comes to development. Just sort of your view at 30,000 feet of how you see redevelopment in the 3rd District moving forward.
Thank you, Jimmy. We are very diverse. We've got farmland, and we've got heavy industrial, we've got residential in the 3rd District. So one of the things that I've talked to people about in the North County is making sure that we keep the farm agricultural, and we keep open space in the northern part of the district. In the Timonium-Cottonville area, where we are inside what's called the URL, the Urban Rural Demarcation Line, where county has services, water, and sewage. I'm looking to redevelop business districts. I've met with the property owners, the business owners in the area, where we've got old buildings that are just sitting there vacant, and we are trying to come up with ideas where we can build mixed-use buildings so people can eat, work, live, and play, similar to the town center here in Hunt Valley. You've got millennials and you've got empty nesters that want to not have to worry about cutting the grass, but they also want to be able to come downstairs and go to their gym and then have retail right by their front door and not have to travel. So because of the city has done that, we've lost some businesses recently. Comcast has left White Marsh. Medifast has left Owings Mills because they built a better mousetrap. We lose revenues that way. I'm trying to make sure that we keep the existing businesses that we have and be able to attract businesses back into Baltimore County, because we actually do need to have revenues into this area, because we're facing a major obstacle right now where we're dangerously close to losing our AAA bond rating. And if we lose that, it's going to cost us more money to service the same debt. And that means 2 things. The next administration coming in either cuts a lot of programs or they raise property taxes. So I'm not a fan of property tax increases. I'd rather see us get revenues in by having better businesses in here. So that's part of my platform. The other part is we've got some aging residential areas that I've met with the Maryland Builders Industry Association about seeing where we could actually buy an older home, tear it down, build new in the Timonium-Cockeysville area, and start attracting families that are maybe just coming out of the city that have young children and they want to come out here because of our schools. And we get a better base of people coming in that want to live in the area, but they don't want to have to move all the way up to North County to buy a bigger house. They can buy a little bit smaller one right here in Timonium, but they've got all the services, and we keep the sprawl down where we already have the facilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I don't know if you all know it, but 1 million people in the Baltimore metropolitan area, their water is from northern Baltimore County. So number one, we need to make sure that we keep our rivers and streams clean so that we have good quality drinking water. Secondly, we need to preserve our agriculture and open space in northern Baltimore County. We need to take a look at the Ag Center, at the Mark Board, and we need to continue to develop programs that will encourage younger people to go into agriculture, into farming. It is a huge industry in Baltimore County. In regard to the suburban parts of the 3rd District, one of the things that I did is put in legislation which gives the council members the power to take land in already established areas that's owned by Baltimore County and designated as neighborhood commons. What that means is that land which is owned by the county will remain open space or recreational space. And I took that opportunity to zone over 1,000 acres in our established communities as NC. You all remember what happened at Mays Chapel North, where the county went in using county property and they built a school. And if you take a look at the site today, it looks like a bulldozer went through and took everything down. My main concern, though, is always community involvement in all of these issues. People in the area must have a role and some say. The old Stewart's Timonium building or Caldor building, or it's at the end of Ridgely Road, there I've seen plans and I've been working with the developer. They want to pull that down and locate some apartments, grocery store, or apartments and a hotel. I'm not too crazy about the hotel, but you know, so I'm working with them. Stewart's Timonium is a huge white elephant that is not really suitable for commercial activity in the future. So there's some of the ideas I have and some of what I've been working on.
Switching over to education, this is sort of a three-pronged question. The relationship when it comes to education between Baltimore County, the state, federally, and then also one of the hot topics right now is what we do as far as reconstructing some of the schools here in Baltimore County.
That's a very long topic. First of all, I was the only member of the county council to oppose Dr. Dance's reappointment as superintendent. I had read many of the audit reports and reports regarding the STAT program, that is the computer program in our Baltimore County schools. And when you look closely at it, first of all, it's obvious there was some funny business going on, but the more important issue, or the other issue, is that the STAT program, the school system has not measured how academically successful it's been in 3 years. In fact, the statistics they give in the study that they've done is totally irrelevant because they don't compare students who have not had the computers with those who have had the computers. Unfortunately, under state law, the county council and the county cannot order an audit of the county school system. So what I've done is I've asked the State Department of Education to audit our school system, and also had requested that the legislative auditors do the same. So we do desperately need an independent audit of the school system. We need to search for a superintendent. We all know that the current interim was appointed superintendent. I regret that decision very much by the school board. It would have been okay to have her go for another year as interim, but a lot of work needs to be done before doing that. I've been working very closely with Friends of Delaney and also Towson High Schools. We need 2 new schools in central Baltimore County. Delaney and Towson are downright unsafe. When you have exploding pipes in the building, when you have mold and mildew in buildings, you've got a problem. And neither school has been maintained properly. If we renovate the schools, what the end result will be we'll have schools that are outdated, obsolete the minute that they reopen. So there's some of my ideas.
And gentlemen, if we just speak as loud as possible, we got limited ampage on the microphone here.
Candidates to stand up so their voices
Sure.
go to the back. Sure.
Mr. Hale focuses mainly on the reconstruction of these two schools.
Thank you. Well, first off, before we get on to the reconstruction, take a look at the school board budget. You know, the county gives the BCPS their budget, and it's just kind of, here you go and have fun with it and do what you want to do with it. Which, when you start looking at it, it's very clear that you can see that we do a great job of training our teachers, but we don't pay them. So as soon as they get trained, they get all this great training, the first thing they do is leave and go to other counties or private schools where they can earn more money while we've funded to train them. So teachers need to be compensated properly with the other jurisdictions, the same amount of money, so we can actually retain them. It'll actually help us save money because we're constantly, it's like we're just churning and churning more teachers. As far as reconstruction, I graduated from Delaney, and I walked in there about 6 months ago, and I couldn't believe it. Was like I walked into a time warp. Nothing has changed in that school, and I graduated there in 1985. So yes, Delaney is definitely past its prime, as well as Towson High School, as well as Lansdowne, as well as Patapsco High School. There's a lot of schools in the district that need to be redone. What we need to do is to come up with the way to pay for it. I've talked to some of the other council members about, if I were to be elected, how we could come up to help the county executive come up with a 10-year plan to rebuild the schools and actually be able to pay for that. So, but you know, Delaney obviously is at the top of my priority list. It's near and dear to my heart, and it's right around the corner from my friends where their kids go to school, and that definitely. But the second thing is maintenance. We don't maintain our schools. Carver, beautiful school right on York Road in Towson. In 40 years, it's going to look like Delaney because we don't upkeep our schools. We need to have a maintenance program. It's just common sense stuff. This is how I think. Maintenance. Maintain it. It'll last longer. It's like changing the oil in your car.
Yes.
So, thank you.
Staying on education, Councilman, I'll throw this back to you. The involvement that the federal government right now has when it comes to education, we're talking about technology, tablets, things that the county and the state are mandated to provide. Just the concern between, if there is a concern, between the county, the state, and the feds when it comes to education.
I almost tripped.
Can you
First,
repeat the question?
the question was the federal state involvement in our local schools and in mandating computers, et cetera, et cetera. Let me just say, if I were in federal government, I would get rid of the Department of Education immediately because I'm afraid that the federal government is turning public schools into government schools. And the federal government is doing the wrong thing by mandating the same curriculum for every school and every student in America. We have 50 different states, and the thing that has made this country great and Maryland great and all the other states great is the diversity in educational opportunity. And if you're going to have a curriculum where they're all the same, that's a problem. When I was in the state legislature, one of the things I did vote for, and I don't regret doing it, was accountability, because after all, the state of Maryland puts in nearly as much into our county schools as the county does. So we should have accountability. But I don't support test after test. When I taught, the curriculum was teaching the test. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So I'd like to see the federal government out of it. I'd like to see the state government out of it. And let's have a local public school system. This November, you will have the opportunity for the first time in Baltimore County's history to elect a school board. We have a great member, Kathleen Causey, representing the 3rd District on the school board. And if you take a look at my literature, I am supporting her for a full term on the board. She and I fight for what is right. And unfortunately, the old guard Democrat machine does control the school board as well as the council. And she's fighting to break it. I'm fighting to break it. And we're going to just keep on.
I too think teachers, they go to school, they get a degree in teaching, they get their teaching certificate, and then, like Councilman Kach said, they come in to teach for a test. They're not creative. You know, when I was in school, I learned lots of different things. We did not have these kind of standardized tests like that, and I think it's detracting from the kids. One thing I will say is, you know, we've spent an incredible amount of money on these personal devices for all the children at BCPS, of which we don't even get to own these machines. We have to give them back at the end of the year. This was a Dr. Dance maneuver, and we see where that landed Dr. Dance. So, but technology is the wave of the future, and I do believe in technology. All of my trucks have technology. You can see where they are and keep track, you know, with the DOT, with logs, regulations, but those devices, if we're going to have them, they should actually be able to do more. Because right now, if you go onto those devices, they're very limited on their capabilities. We as parents can't really go in to see what our kids are learning, what their homework assignments are, what their projects are. It's very sparse for the amount of money for what we're getting. It's just not worth it. So I would hopefully be able to talk with the other, and Kathleen, Kathleen Causey is great. And she does get it, and I think that she would be someone that would advocate for what I'm trying to talk about, which is getting devices that actually function properly, that you can use at home, and have a good computer program that parents could actually see what's going on with their children.
And speaking of technology, the solar industry has been making its way into the 3rd District. It's been a hot topic. Mr. Hale, started out with you, but just your thoughts on the expansion of the solar industry in Baltimore County.
Earlier this year, the County Council passed Bill 3717, which was the solar bill, which was very loosely written, left a lot of gray area, and there's been some projects that have been going on up in the northern part of the county that I don't agree with. I think there's too many things right now. There's too many unknowns that we don't know about solar. What's the impacts of rain on them going into our to our ecosystems, into our streams? How's it affecting that? And is there ill effects to the soil? Plus, the size and scope of these farms are just aesthetically not appealing to look at all. And even if you block them and do everything else to them, it's what's being built today is already obsolete by the time it's off of the factory, because they keep getting better and better on technology, just like televisions and just like our smartphones. So what's going to take today to harness so much, tomorrow will be less and less and less. Part of the things that I'd like to do is I'd like to rewrite that bill or work with the council to amend that bill, because we're still within that 1 year area that we could do that, and put solar on the roofs of office buildings, parking lots like they did in McCormick and Cockeysville. I'm going to do more of that in the areas where we're already set up for it.
Thank you very much. I talked about the special interests. Well, the solar legislation that passed was the product of the solar industry. If you take a look at contributions to campaigns of certain members of the council, you will see why they supported this awful bill. I had another bill that would have been a lot more restrictive, and I think would have worked in northern Baltimore County. I'm not against solar energy at all, not at all. As Ed said, we need to encourage the use of solar on the roofs of businesses, parking lots. In order to do that, we need to offer incentives for people to do that, because it's a lot more expensive to install solar on a roof or on a parking lot than it is to lease for $2,000 a year an acre of land to put these solar panels. Let me just say that the county correctional facility, if you take a look at it, the roof, there are solar panels up there. They are obsolete, not working. They've been there for years. And what's going to happen if this continues to go in this direction is we're going to have northern Baltimore County with about 14 solar fields that are going to be obsolete. And they're going to sit there because there really isn't any part of the county policy that mandates the pulling down of these solar panels and trying to restore the area to its original form. Now, what the other issue is, you talk about property rights. Is it right for a farmer to locate, or a property owner to locate 10 acres of solar panels where you have, let's say, 13 homes overlooking it, or homes where the solar panels are right in front of it? Every single real estate agent will tell you that will lower the value of the home. And so we need to make sure that the new policies that the county adopts are going to benefit everyone. I put in a bill which passed to have a moratorium and study, but the county executive vetoed it.
Speaking about property rights, a highly contested issue over the last couple of years has been Section 8. County Executive Kevin Kamenetz has been very much in favor of that. It's been floated out there in Annapolis, on that being discrimination when it comes to funding. So I would like both of your opinions on Section 8 moving forward in Baltimore County.
The county council, there was legislation to mandate that every landlord in Baltimore County accept the Section 8 voucher. It failed. I believe the vote was 5-2. I think it was, or 6-1. So it failed. In regard to property rights, I don't believe that a property owner should be forced to accept a government-run program. I think that, they have every right, as far as I'm concerned, to turn it down. And so that's where we are. There's a agreement between the federal government and Baltimore County, which mandated that bill be introduced. The good thing is that it failed 6-1. If it had gotten more votes, the agreement was that it would have to be introduced again if it had gotten 3 votes. And they would, of course, look for the 4th. So, that idea is thankfully dead for right now.
So right now, there's 4,000 people in Baltimore County that have Section 8 vouchers that live within the county. Well, this is the stats I was looking at the other day. But so 53% of the recipients of Section 8 vouchers right now are people that are living on welfare or their retirement or disability. The median age is over 60 years old. So it seems to be a lot of people that have maybe worked but never owned a home, and now they need assistance to live. So the over half are senior citizen or close to being senior citizens, but that doesn't explain the other 44% that are younger and that are able to work. And part of what I'm trying to do is to get these people back to work. Baltimore County has a federally funded program, a workforce program, that has sites in Dundalk, Randallstown, and right here in Hunt Valley, that if you walked in, if you're unemployed and you looked at the job board they've got job postings, and you're like, wow, I would really like to try to do that. I've always wanted to do that, but I don't know how to do that. We train them. Baltimore County trains them with federal money, but they get them to the point where it's about 80 or 90% of the way there. Then they actually get them with the company, and they finish out the training how they want to tweak the individual. So, but we don't talk about that. The county apparently, because it's federal funded, can't promote this. My problem is that I don't understand why, if you can't actually come out and promote it as a county government. If I was councilman right now, I would have gone to every single chamber of commerce in Baltimore County and stood on the soapbox until everybody understood that this is out there and it's underutilized. We utilize that, more people get to work, less need to be on Section 8, and hopefully less would need assisted living when they become elderly. So my way is to try to grow people's finances, wealth, so they don't need to be on Section 8.
So the lines get blurred again on, I guess, what should be a state issue, a county issue, a federal issue, but illegal immigration. What should be the county council's involvement, oversight, if anything, when it comes to the issue of illegal immigration in Baltimore County?
I can't break the law.
Well, I'm not a fan of Baltimore County being a sanctuary county. Hopefully, the next county executive, either hopefully Pat McDonald or Al Redmer. I'm an Al Redmer fan, but I'm sure that would be one of the first things that either one of those. Well, we know that Pat would do it. I know that Al would do it as well. Would take that away from that status for us in Baltimore County. Listen, we have to fight for everything that we get, and being able to President Obama letting these the Dreamers have their stay. My opinion, they should have gone out and applied for citizenship then.
That's right. Yeah. Amen.
So they've been skating by, and President Trump is coming down on them. Good. They absolutely should. And You know, the whole thing that Councilman Kach and Marks and Crandall about trying to deputize the prison guards so they would become federalized, so they would have to report to ICE. I think that's, I'm sorry that that didn't pass because it should have. So you're here illegally, you know, you apply or leave or do what you got to do, but you get caught, you're out.
Can't have two laws in this country, one for them, one for us.
Well, first of all, the federal government has total jurisdiction over this issue. I mean, there's no doubt about it, none whatsoever. In regard to Baltimore County, unfortunately, we are a sanctuary county. There's no doubt about it. And Ed mentioned the legislation that the three of us put in. Unfortunately, the bill failed 5-2, which there were 3 sponsors, but we only got 2 of the 3 sponsors to vote for it. But what it would have done is, we, at least as a county, we should not tolerate those here illegally that commit other crimes.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes no sense whatsoever.
They broke the law when they came in.
So anyhow, we put the bill in. As I said, it failed 5-2, and hopefully when we get a new administration, we will be able to take care of this issue in a reasonable and rational way. And again, the way is that the federal government has total jurisdiction over this. The county needs to be cooperating with the federal government. So I mean, that's as simple as it comes. And we will pursue the legislation again to try to establish at least this relationship between the feds and the county when it comes to people here illegally who have committed crimes.
So I'm going to combine a bunch of questions right now. It ties into illegal immigration, but this is the majority of the questions that are coming in. Obviously, immigration is a federal issue. Nobody's disputing that, but there is legislation that's happening at the state level and at the county level that promotes or supports it. We'll see what happens in the county executive race, but again, just combining a bunch of questions. What is the what's the ability of the council to stand up and to fight when it comes to the issue of illegal immigration, which seems to be one of the top priorities right now for people in Baltimore County?
Well, basically, the power that the county council has with this issue is to, in essence, stop what the county executive is currently doing. And that will take legislation, and it's legislation I would certainly support without any hesitation whatsoever. You know, we all talk about those here that illegally, you have to realize the amount of money that the taxpayers are working out for these individuals. When I was in the state legislature, it was over $1 billion a year the state of Maryland spent because we must provide the children with an education. Now, I don't have a problem with that because I certainly don't want people out of school running around. I mean, you don't want that. You absolutely do not want that. So we need to, again, cooperate with the federal government. The federal government, the president has a policy that he is pursuing, and let's assist him in that policy. So that's what, should we gain a majority, we only have to switch 1 seat on the council to get a majority, that then we can pursue this issue in a more sensible way.
Sir, did you vote for in-state
No,
tuition?
no, sir, no,
No, I
please,
did not.
please.
I did not.
Mr. Hale, go.
Of course not.
One of the things that I would have done the moment that the county executive made Baltimore County a sanctuary county, if I was sitting councilman, would have been to show how much money it's costing us as taxpayers. And I would have put it on every network. I would have shamed the county executive to the point where he wouldn't have been able to run for governor. I mean, he's running for governor. He wouldn't be able to become dog catcher. I would have exploited them into where they would have seen how much this is actually costing all of us.
Again, I'm going to combine a bunch of questions right now. Most of the questions coming in, really, at the end of the day, are federal issues. It's gay marriage, it's gun control, it's immigration, it's Section 8. I'm a firm believer that the best governing happens at the local level. So, Mr. Hale, I'll start it out with you. Is there a concern that local government has given away a lot of its power, and if you were to win, or Mr. Kach, if you retain your seat, just the ability for the best governing to happen at the local level?
Thank you. One of the times I was speaking with the governor when he asked me if I was doing this because did I want to be governor one day, and I told him, don't take this the wrong way, but not for all the tea in China. As you're in a thankless job, and I'm thanking you for the job that you're doing. And I hope that we give him 4 more years. But what I said is, and he said to me, well, as a county councilor, you can actually impact people more on a day-to-day basis than he can as governor, or even the county executive. Because it really is, it's boots on the ground, it's helping people with every day-to-day issue. And I'm a firm believer in, I'm not a big fan of large government. I'm a fan of where we can help, where I can help you, I'm going to help you. But where there's regulation that is needless, and we can legislate that in the council, believe me, I'm all about putting the power back into your hands so we can have more production, more productive people, and happier families and wealthier families.
Obviously, the more localized government is, the better it's going to be for the people of Baltimore County or whatever locality. The problem is the Code of Baltimore County, which was issued by the state, I guess, in the 1950s. It greatly restricts the power of the county council. The county executive has almost total power over Baltimore County. Decisions that are made,
Well, that's ridiculous.
spending the budget,
Excuse me.
yeah, spending the money, etc. There was a code revision committee, which Netta Prey, who's here this evening, I appointed her as a member, and what we tried to do is to transfer power away from the county executive to the council. But unfortunately, those special interests that I keep talking about, 4 of the 9 members of that commission are lobbyists in Baltimore County. And those 4 lobbyists make their living trying to maneuver and manipulate the system to the benefit of the people that they work for. So, they had no business on that code revision committee. They certainly should have a role. They should be able to testify, give their opinion, but they should not be part of that decision making. Now, one of the things that we were able to get through is this. Right now, a piece of legislation has 40 days to pass or to be considered by the county council. I've advocated for some time expanding that time. Well, it's been recommended to be 65 days, which will go to the voters in November. By expanding the number of days to 65, it will give the citizens of this county a greater role in giving their opinions on the particular issue before the council. I can't tell you the number of times that we're sitting up on when the council has a voting session, an amendment comes up 2 minutes before the vote, and if you don't vote for the bill, it's dead because the 40 days are over. So it's ridiculous. So by extending that amount of time, it's going to be a much more open and transparent system.
So obviously the county council has a lot of power. I'm going to reset the original topic, which is development, and we can approach this from 30,000 feet, but where the county council has an awful lot of influence is in zoning, and obviously a lot of the projects in the 3rd District have come under criticism right now. So I'll let both you gentlemen dive into it, peel the onion back as much as you want, but just sort of at 30,000 feet, your overall view of where development goes, and kind of separating the county into 2 different areas. Because obviously, the 3rd District, you have north of Schwang Road, and then you have Cockeysville and Timonium, but just sort of your overall idea when it comes to development and where we go from there.
Well, first of all, economic development is very important because we need to increase the tax base so that your property taxes won't go up. And one of the things we need to do, as I said before, Sparks has hundreds of acres that are zoned industrial, but the problem is companies will not relocate there or expand there because it's unsafe, very difficult to get there. When you think of York Road between Broadmead and Phoenix Road, it's a dangerous stretch of road. So that's the biggest problem. So what we need to do is we need to work on the state to relocate York Road so that we can utilize that land that's already been zoned industrial. As far as above the Erdel, that's not really the place for development. As I described earlier, just use as an example the former Stewart's Timonium or Caldor site. It's on the west side, the end of Ridgely Road. There is the big former Stewart's store, which is abandoned and is not useful. So what we need to do is we need to develop uses for that will provide additional housing for people, but we also need to consider up the street, Ridgely Middle School is the most overcrowded middle school in Baltimore County. So you realize if you build units that will go to Ridgely, you're going to make that problem worse. So the county has been, for many, many years, been approving development after development when the infrastructure is simply not there. I'm talking about the roads, I'm talking about the schools, they're not there. So we need a smarter policy, one where you have a plan that will assist us in making those good zoning decisions, like the redevelopment needs to take place south of the Erdel. No doubt about that. And so we need to do everything we can to improve our infrastructure so that we can facilitate those improvements.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, a big part of my platform is redevelopment within the Erdel, because there's a lot of the same reasons that Councilman Kach just said. We don't need to have more first off, we're pretty much maxed out of usable land within the Erdel. So by redeveloping it, developers want to develop, builders want to build, so let's give them something to do within the Erdel so they don't keep trying to come up into the northern part of the county. So, but we need to have a vision to keep looking down the road. I mean, most of you remember when the Hunt Valley Mall was built, and it was great, and everybody loved it. Sir Walter Riley, lots of my friends were busboys and waiters and waitresses here. And then it died because we never kept our foot on the gas to try to improve and continue growth, smart growth with businesses in this area. Now we have this here. It's beautiful, it's great, but if we don't keep looking down the road for our children's generation and their children's generation, we're gonna go backwards again. That's where I come in. I have a vision for where I would love to be able to see this area continue to have nice gradual smart growth where business is coming in, revenue's coming up, and hopefully then we have more money at that point to do things with for rec councils and fields and those type of things.
And gentlemen, before we do closing statements, it's a simple question, but single reason why you're seeking the office.
When I first got into the business, I wanted to be successful for myself. And then I became a parent. And then I realized that it's a greater calling than just to be successful for yourself. It's to put others, put my children, put others in front of me and I love this area here. I grew up here, and I have a strong passion. My friends are here, my family's here, and I want to see this area continue to thrive and be the best. This is the best district of Baltimore County. I don't care what anybody says. I think this is the best district, and I want to continue its future so I can tee it up for 2 terms if I was lucky, and you guys liked it, because I'm about term limits, and then pass the ball.
The reason that I'm running for re-election is that I have an unfinished agenda. And the first thing that we need to do is I need to continue to push for openness and transparency in government. I've already introduced a couple pieces of legislation that have become law. One of them would mandate that the county executive hold 2 public input meetings prior to introducing his budget. There is no public input at all for the budget, none whatsoever. So that's needed. And for instance, when you take the STAT program, the computer program in our schools, there was a viable alternative that I know that the people that put it together never had the opportunity to meet with the county executive to let him know about it. And if he had known about it, possibly he would have put that in his budget instead of what he did. So I want to continue to improve our communities that are south of the Erdel and keep northern Baltimore County agricultural and with open space. When I was in the state legislature, I always brag that my district was the most beautiful district in the state of Maryland. And ladies and gentlemen, if you think about it, it is. It absolutely is. And as a councilman, I will do everything I can to maintain the quality that we have in this district and to improve it even more.
What about the bonds?
Finally, a question came in. It's a valid question. Do you favor a full casino, this is both you gentlemen, where the OTB is at the fairgrounds? The reason why I want to kind of isolate this question, there was some frustration on the way that all that came to be, and gambling in Maryland has been a little bit of a camel's nose under the tent. There's really no question about that. So, and also with the county executive race on, whether we're going to build a sports complex or, the progression of entertainment here in Baltimore County. So as far as not just at the fairgrounds, but the progression of having casinos in Baltimore County.
Well, first of all, we don't have the infrastructure for a casino. As long as I'm in the councilman, there will not be a casino in Timonium. In fact, there is a county law that forbids it. And so, you know, that's the end of that story. When I was in the state legislature, I added an amendment to the lottery bill that stated that local planning and zoning would have to be considered and honored before a casino could be built, because I was very worried with the way that the amendment was worded. The state could have come in and taken any land in northern Baltimore County along 83 and put a casino there. So there's not going to be one in Timonium, and there's not going to be one anywhere in the 3rd District, I can assure you of that.
When the state passed casinos coming into into Maryland, you know, it was under the guise that revenue was going to be used for education. Well, there was the old, you know, look under this glass and see what's really going on over here. I'm not a fan of how that's negotiated down in Annapolis right now, and even the comptroller, who you know, he was kind enough to show the media that a few months ago. I'm not a fan of that. That being said, in Baltimore County, well, like Councilman Kach said, we will not ever have a casino at Timonium Fairgrounds. I think it says forever and a day. That'll never be, and that would never change under my watch. I mean, it brings in a certain element. You know, you hear about these bad, horrific things that happen down at Arundel Mills or at the Horseshoe. You know, Western Maryland, you really don't hear so much about, maybe because you know, either it doesn't get reported or they really don't have that. But where we are around here, I think it brings an element that I don't want to have within our district here. You know, hey, if you want to go out and spend money at a casino, that's great, but we're not going to do it here.
Approaching the end of the program, Councilman, will give you 2 minutes to closing statements.
That's a question.
It was
Closing
a
statement.
Closing statement. I again want to thank the Republican women of Baltimore County for hosting this event, and it's been a real honor serving as the council member from the 3rd District. The one thing that I have done is that I have made every effort to meet with and speak with any constituent who wanted to talk to me. In fact, I had 2 extra CZMP meetings, that is during the rezoning process, one at Hereford High School, one at Cockeysville Middle School, where everyone that had a zoning issue in the 3rd District was invited. And what I did is I had, like, let's say, issue 25, I had the proponents and opponents get up and speak about that issue. Then I urged them to get together and see if they could work out a compromise. In all but 2 cases, they did. And I had 90-some issues. So it's the involvement of the citizens of the 3rd District that is important to me. I will continue to do that. That's the commitment I make to you. Thank you.
Thank you again, Jimmy, Catherine, the Women's Republican Club for doing this again tonight. I think it was it's been very good, and thank you, Councilman Kach, for coming out tonight. You know, like I said before, it all starts with a vision, and I have that vision, but you also have to be able to deliver on that. And you know, a common thing that I've been all over the county, all over the district. The common thing that I'm hearing is that while councilman comes to the meetings and listens to the issues and concerns, he then goes back to Towson and you don't hear anything, or nothing, or little to nothing is done. I am like I said, I'm an out-of-the-box thinker. I'm a consensus builder. I work, and I could work well with my peers to get a lot of things accomplished here. Last 2 years of our budgets, you see, we pay the lion's share of the taxes in Baltimore County, in the 3rd district. This is the wealthiest area, and we have very little to show for it in the budget those last couple of years that I've been looking at it. And I just think that we have been neglected. And my plan is to make sure that we get the respect back in the 3rd district, to make sure that we get the lion's share, or our fair share at least, of what is what we're paying in our taxes. You know, I'd like to, right now I have the endorsement of Delegate Kathy Shalega and Senator J.B. Jennings, and actually the Baltimore County Firefighters Union have all endorsed our campaign. They believe in what I'm saying, and because I'm not a politician. I'm a business person that's just looking at things and it's right or wrong. So I hope that you get out and vote. Election day is June 26th. If you can't make it out on that Tuesday, early voting is going to be June 14th through the 21st. Our location in this district is the Ag Center, but if you can't make it on the 26th, try to get around to any one of the statewide and Jacksonville. So if you can't get out to our locations here, there's all around. Last time I voted at the Senior Center in Dundalk. So, but get out and vote, and I certainly thank you very much for coming, and I ask for your support and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for coming out. Appreciate it, both these gentlemen. I'm sure we'll be around for a little while to take some questions and talk. I know we need to. Yeah.
Can you please discuss? I think there's a. Excuse me, we're not done yet. Can you please be quiet for a few more minutes? Thank you. Why don't you grab the microphone now?
Why don't you clarify what the URL is, just for people that may not be.
There is a question about what the The URL is the line that separates those homes, businesses, etc., that are served with public water and sewerage. People outside of the URL, most of them have well and septic, so that's the difference. Within the URL, public water and sewers. Outside the URL, they don't have them.
URL is actually an acronym for Urban Rural Demarcation Line, URDL.
Yes, I just noticed that I recently got a notification in the mail with Wade and Governor Hogan and Kathy Causey. Has the governor endorsed your campaign? Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to bring that out. I'd also like to. Excuse me. I'd also like to ask you, what is the probability of the apartments going up where the old Caldor is that can be turned into Section 8 housing?
That is one of the issues that has been brought forward, and basically it all depends on which developer comes in to develop that property. That's what it all depends on. So we would need to know up front who's going to come in. For instance, at the Hunt Valley Town Center, there is no Section 8. There is absolutely no Section 8. And the same person that built those apartments is in discussion building the ones where Stewart's Timonium is. Stewart's Timonium in that development is not a fait accompli at all. The community has been told about it and they're getting involved. So we're not talking about tomorrow, we're talking about in the long run.
I was told that there was 25% of the apartments in Avalon by the Hunt Valley Town Center that was devoted to Section 8 housing. That's absolutely not true.
false.
Good, that's a good thing. Good, glad to hear that.
There's no Section 8 housing in the Hunt Valley Town Center. None. Zero. I can't hear what you say. What did she say?
She said it's irrelevant. She said she had some.
She said she has them in her development. Did you have any comments on that, Ed?
On the Section 8 in Hunt Valley Town Center?
Either one of those questions.
Well, I mean, I know that I've been told that there is no Section 8 at the Avalon Apartments at the Hunt Valley Town Center. That is, yeah.
That's great. Can you speak about the development of the?
Are we having a second debate? I mean, I don't get this.
Hey, what's going on,
Jimmy's
guys?
the
Answer
debater. I don't
questions.
know,
What's
you
up?
know, we have a moderator. What are you doing here? Are you
I just
holding a
wanted to
separate
ask a
debate?
question.
I know, but you should have wrote it down.
I don't get the answer.
President.
Well, I don't care if she's president or not. I mean, I really don't. Why didn't you submit your questions the way it was everybody else did?
President's coming.
Okay, well, I'm turning my camera off. I'm done. I don't know why you had a moderator.
Come on, let's